You know, one of the things that makes America unique is the entrepreneurial spirit of so many of our people. 2 years ago, we told you about one of them who took a leap of faith because of his love for his father. Well, since then, his little idea has grown into a big deal that may end up helping tens of thousands deal with the challenges of aging.
When I started, I was all in.
Down at the Industries of the Blind,
I know where every box is going.
they can see a business coming to life.
Every vendor we have, I tell them the same thing. You're shipping a box to my dad, so it needs to be right.
Scott Silknitter's dad, Roger, was an entrepreneurial spirit and a man he looked to for guidance in life. But his dad battled Parkinson's disease for nearly a quarter century and near the end had trouble with the most routine tasks.
It started with this.
So Scott built something to help him work on his motor skills, put together from the household items his dad's company made. But he kept thinking it could be more, and he came up with this sketch of a pegboard, which became his prototype.
A simple game of tic-tac-toe.
A series of games, actually, with replaceable game boards.
It's just a simple, fun activity.
He thought enough of it to quit his job and drag his family into the business, putting together the kits in and shipping them from his home in Greensboro.
$8 an hour, huh?
And he couldn't believe how it took off.
A grown woman who just sent me a simple 2-sentence email.
He went from shipping a dozen or so a month with online orders.
Thank you so much. I can play games with Daddy again.
To signing deals with the nation's biggest caregivers that requires them to make and ship nearly 2,000 a day.
In this department, we have roughly 12 individuals.
That moved the operation out of his house and into the Industries of the Blind. It was important for Scott to have everything manufactured and shipped by American workers, and these workers at the Industries of the Blind turned out to be the perfect ones for the final packaging, even if the pace isn't what you're used to seeing.
We make up for the speed with doing it correctly. It takes about 4 times as long to do something over as it does to do it right. So we focus on going a little bit slower, but making sure it's perfect when it comes through.
The items they're packing for Scott include his new products that help caregivers with the dementia that often comes with Parkinson's and aging.
Because I wanted things that people could remember.
Magnetic jigsaw puzzles showing the music today's seniors grew up with.
The '68 album, the Elvis comeback, GI Blues. So somebody could ask, what were you doing in 1968? Did you hear that song at homecoming? And it's just simple. Start that conversation. Get someone engaged. The reason I did racing,
Scott did it
because Dad was a race fan.
with a dry erase maze featuring Dale Earnhardt's famous number 3 that he brought to his father.
He didn't know who I was, but he recognized that number 3. And we sat for an hour, and he tried to get the card of the checkered flag. And he sat and told me how he used to take his kids to the races. And I just looked at him and said, I wish I could have been there.
He was in the best way he could, and is now trying to help others find a way to do the same.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not, I wasn't trained in any of this. I'm just a guy that wanted to help his dad. And now I just kind of look at everyone like my dad. And
he may not be a doctor, but he is playing himself on TV with us this morning. Thanks for coming in, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we talked in the piece there about how you dragged your whole family into this. You talk about the leap of faith. I mean, the whole clan went all in for this, didn't it?
It was a huge leap of faith, all of them. My wife, the 3 kids, in the basement, starting at the kitchen table, then moving down to the basement as we grew.
Because you left your job for this.
We stopped all income. There's such a need. There's so many families that sit at home that are caring for a loved one that say, what is there for them to do? And so I'm on a mission. And it has been almost 3 years, and 18 hours a day, and the whole family is involved with it. The kids were great. My wife has been wonderfully supportive, and the community. Everyone has supported us as we've grown.
What I found interesting is how, you know, when you started this, you might not have known what expansion you would do, you know, what would be the next part of the product, because you really didn't have that all mapped out. But these things just started flowing like a river to you. I mean, we saw the Elvis magnets, we saw a few other things,
We started with a handful of activity board inserts, and then as we started showing people locally, the local agencies, local assisted living facilities, and the ideas from them, the requests from them kept coming. So we have roughly 40 activity boards now. And we have requests for several hundred more, that people want something for their loved one or their resident to identify with.
Do you find it works because of just the simple movements? Is it the fact that it starts these conversations? As you mentioned, you might have heard in the piece there, where if they're doing a magnetic puzzle of something they remember, Elvis from years ago, though they may have dementia, they remember that. It starts that conversation. Is that the most effective, or is it some combination?
That's one of the aspects of it. The key is the entertainment system. It can be what that person needs it to be. For my father, before his dementia really began, it was like large print magazines. It was a tool that allowed him to enjoy the things he used to do. As the dementia started, and for several others, it has become a tool for the caregivers to use to engage that person. And yes, those images are things that people recognize, and it starts the conversation.
Yeah, so what is the website again if people want to go look at this?
www.rostherapysystems.com.
rostherapysystems.com. Very good. I believe we have that on our website somewhere as well. Thanks for coming in, Scott. Again, we have put that on the website so people can check it out there at myfox8.com. Brad?
It's amazing when you start with something from the heart, how people respond to it.
Definitely, and how it can grow and grow.